I've showed you how the stopping and starting to keeping you from ever eating popcorn. If you stop and start, or start and stop in your legal short business, you're never going to make money in this business. You're never going to build a team that's going to do anything. So from today backwards, how many weeks or months can you actually look back and say, I've been consistently at each weekly briefing, every monthly Super Saturday, I've been doing my exposures, my follow-ups each day. How long from today backwards have you truly been consistent in your business? Just think about that. Like, where's the string break? Was it like 4 weeks ago that you didn't do your briefing that week? Was it 8 weeks ago? Was it a year ago? For some of you guys, was it last week? You are business owners. We are business owners. If you opened a restaurant and the weather didn't look like it was going to be good tomorrow, or you had like a little belly ache, would you just not open the doors to your restaurant? No, you'd have to be there unless you were smart enough to go out and get some leadership developed in the restaurant. You have managers that can open it without you, which is what we're talking about helping you guys to do. But we've got to be really consistent in this business, because when you stop being consistent, that water pump that took so much to get the water out of the ground is going to sink right back down into the ground again. So these are just some things to think about so we can all remember. We got to stay very focused and consistent in the business. Now, when Chris and I were talking about this training, we talked about, I'll leave it like this. A recruit is not a recruit until he or she has a recruit. And Chris started, we were talking about five getting five, and maybe you can go lead into that, and I'll circle back behind you.
So many of us have been around a long time. We used to always see that, right? 5, 25, 125, 625, and that's the dream of duplication. Just you can get 5, we can all get 5, and if we can get 5, then they can probably get 5, and 5, 25, and it starts to grow. Well, we know that most people will never get beyond 25. Why is that? It's not that they can't, it's that they won't. Everybody can get past 25, but most people won't get past 25. Why? Because they're not building with the principles that we've already talked about, the principles we're going to continue talking about, but also because they're doing what works, they're not doing what duplicates. I mean, we've got into this incredible service. Anything's going to work. Anything will work because it's amazing. The question is really what duplicates. And to frame this up, tell you a story, had a guy on my team once, he used to do full presentations with the flip chart in the lobby of the hotel that we were going to do a business briefing in. So instead of inviting his guests to the business briefing, he would meet his guests an hour before the business briefing, and he would do the full presentation for them. And then a lot of times these guests would go home and they wouldn't even go to the business briefing. So one day I walked up, I saw this several weeks in a row, and I said, hey, can I ask you a question? He said, yeah. I said, what's going on? I said, I see you bringing people in and you're presenting, but they're not coming to the business briefing. And he said, yeah, I'm just doing the presentation. I said, well, how's that working for you? And he said, oh, it's going great. I'm one of the top recruiters in the state. And so I realized I asked the wrong question, right? I asked him, how's that working for you? So then I said, may I have your permission to coach? There's a guy on my team, and he said, absolutely, Mr. Hughes. And I said, how many sales did you get last month from your team that came from your 4th or 5th level or below? And he said, what do you mean by that? I said, I mean just, so there's you, and you've got one person who's got another, who's got another, who's got another. How many sales on your team last month came from below that 4th level? And he said, well, I don't think I have any sales coming below my 4th level. And I said, that's the point. What you're doing works really well because you're so effective as a presenter in the lobby of the hotel. You're getting them in, and good for you, but they're not duplicating. So what Mr. Carruthers and I came up with yesterday, we were talking about, is, and I want to ask you all this question, and as I ask you, I ask me. When was the last time that you recruited someone who recruited someone who recruited someone who recruited someone, and it went 4 levels deep in a month? And I don't mean you recruited someone and then placed someone underneath that person. I mean you recruited someone who recruited someone who recruited someone who recruited someone. This is what we've got to get to quickly. Quickly. And I don't want to put any of us on the spot, but I do want you to ask yourself that question. How long ago was it, or how recently was it that you recruited someone, and what do we call it, Mr. Carruthers? Was it 4 deep 30?
4 deep 30.
4 deep 30. We put a name on it. 4 deep 30. It's a great visual, and I think this is a good goal for all of us, because what so many people do, especially counter chasers or PC point chasers, is we get the recruit. I got 2 points for the recruit and a point for the membership. Good luck, God bless. I'm going to go get another recruit, right? I got my points. But what we need to do is it's speed marketing. They're never going to be more excited than they were the moment they signed up. So we've got to strike while the iron's hot. We call this tap rooting. Who do you know that we can send this video to right now? Who do you know that we can call right now? Who do you know that we can go see right now? And let's get a recruit for that new recruit. And then let's keep tap rooting. Let's go out and help that second person get a recruit, and help that third person get a recruit, and help that fourth person get a recruit. Do you all have the visual of that? So on behalf of both of us, I want to challenge all of us to do that. And maybe, can they email us? Is that all right? You okay?
They'll email you and you'll let me know the result.
You can email me, chrishughes@legalshieldcorp.com. But email me as soon as you get one who gets one, who gets one, who gets one. Can we do that? Yep. 4 deep 30. And let us celebrate with you. We need to all be doing that sooner rather than later.
So how many of you all in the last couple months have already taken a recruit and gone 4 deep with their contacts under them? I see maybe 6 or 7 hands. Let's just think about this. Okay, I'm not talking about you placing under them. I'm talking about you taking their contacts and helping. If you recruit someone, doesn't it stand reasonable to expect that you can help them recruit 1 person in a week? Right? Yes? If you recruit someone, doesn't it seem reasonable you can help them recruit 1 person in a week?
Yes.
Okay? So that next recruit, shouldn't you be reasonably expecting that you can help that person recruit 1 in a week? And then 1 in a week and 1 in a week? Why are we not all recruiting someone and it being 4 deep in 4 weeks? Why not? Are we not doing PPR with them, or doing a PCC, or even, like Chris said, shooting out a couple of videos and doing a couple of follow-ups with them? Here's why. We are maybe in our own minds, in our own teams, in our company, maybe we have a culture of we're just trying to go get the recruit because we want to recruit. And we got our PC points for it, and we got a new brick, in the building that we're building. But we've got to stop recruiting to and start recruiting through. When you recruit someone, the only reason why you should recruit them is because you want to get to their best friends. Art Williams with A.L. Williams, who became one of the billionaires from network marketing, never talked to a stranger. John Addison came up in that culture, same thing. They don't advertise. They don't go out there and try to find ways to attract strangers. Now, we can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. I do it all the time. But you don't really ever need to. All you need to do is find 1 person who sees the value of Legal Shield, sign that person up, and they've got a list of 100 people that they know that we don't, and we go through them with them and contact those people, and we just tap it right on down. Now, here's the difference between placing those recruits and using their contacts. If I recruit Christian to business today, and I go recruit Nikki and stick Nikki under him on his team, that does some good, but not much. It's much better that I help him find somebody he's friends with and recruit his friend, because now his friend, somebody that he respects and respects him, validates his decision to come on board and start a business with him. So now he's got a friend that says, amen, you're on a good path, I want to do this with you. That's a true anchor to keep him in the business. A recruit is not a recruit until they have a recruit, and one of their warm contacts especially. Now, by the way, I can't totally tell because there are some bright lights in our faces here, but I can see some faces. And I can't tell if some of this information we're sharing right now is just kind of not landing on you right. And here's why I say this. Because some of y'all look kind of bored. Because we're not talking up here. Look, if Darnell was up here, more animation, more of energy, he's firing you up, you're like, yeah! That's not what we're doing right now. What we're doing is stuff that is already mundane. For many of you all that are veterans, this might be like, this is boring. I've already heard this 100 times. If you're feeling that way right now, it's probably because you're listening as a student still, and you've not shifted your listening today to listening as a teacher. Because if you understood this stuff already, and we're already good at teaching what we're sharing with you all right now, then you'd be up here with the $500,000 $1 million ring. Right? Sometimes we feel like we've arrived. Because we're an ED or we're a bronze or we're a $100,000 ring earner, we feel like we already know. We've already heard Chris, we've already heard Brian, we've already heard all these people. They're like, Brian, I've already read the book, I already know everything that you know. I understand that. But until you can figure out how to shift from being a student and being a follower to learning how to teach it and then learning how to teach others how to be teachers, that's when you become legendary and make millions of dollars in network marketing, when you can learn how to be a teacher of other teachers of this information.